Welcome to Newsmax TV. I'm Kathleen Walter. A federal judge's ruling declaring the National Day of Prayer as unconstitutional has sparked outrage from lawmakers and Americans who say it went against our nation's religious tradition. Joining us is conservative political activist and constitutional attorney Phyllis Schlafly. She is the founder and president of the Eagle Forum, a conservative interest group which is pro-life, against international oversight from the United Nations, supports English-only education in schools, supports a woman's role as a full-time homemaker, and opposes same-sex marriage. Ms. Schlafly led the pro-family movement to victory over the principal legislative goal of the radical feminists called the Equal Rights Amendment. She is also the author of a monthly newsletter and column, and her radio commentaries are heard daily on 500 stations. Welcome to Newsmax TV, Ms. Schlafly.
Thank you very much.
The federal judge who declared the National Day of Prayer as unconstitutional said the event violates the First Amendment's Establishment Clause, banning the creation of a law respecting an establishment of religion. Ms. Schlafly, you're a constitutional attorney. Was the federal judge right or wrong to rule it as unconstitutional?
She was absolutely wrong. There's nothing that establishes a religion when we have a day of prayer. The Americans have had days of prayer from the very beginning. I just wonder if her next move is going to be to abolish Thanksgiving. George Washington established Thanksgiving as a day of prayer, and we've been having days of prayer ever since in our country. It's part of our nation.
All right. Did the Pentagon do the right thing in disinviting evangelist Franklin Graham from a day of prayer event? And should government officials be deciding who should and shouldn't speak at such an event?
Well, if you're putting on a program, you can invite whomever you want. But Franklin Graham was overturned because not because he was going to pray, I don't think, but because he was critical of the religion of Islam. And certainly we've had enough terrorist attacks on our country that we know that Islam is training a lot of people who don't like America and are willing to kill Americans. And I think the political correctness that has infested the Pentagon and the Army was manifested at the Fort Hood massacre, and now with this disinviting of Franklin Graham.
President Obama has said that the U.S. is not a Christian, Jewish, or Muslim nation. Do you agree?
Oh, no, he's wrong. We are a Christian nation, and the overwhelming majority of Americans are Christians. There are more Christians in America than there are other religions in other countries. The founding fathers were certainly Christians. What the atheists are doing is to treat Christians like smokers. In other words, you could do it in your own room, your own house, but not in public. And that's not the American way. The Americans have always had public demonstrations of our belief in God. The Pledge of Allegiance is another thing that's under attack. And incidentally, this judge who tried to overturn and declare unconstitutional the National Day of Prayer was an appointee of Jimmy Carter, who was really elected by the evangelicals, and that he betrayed them by appointing judges who were extremely hostile to religion. Another one of his famous appointments is Judge Reinhardt on the Ninth Circuit, who was held repeatedly against the words "under God" in the Pledge of Allegiance. And we hope he will finally be repudiated on that, because the American people like the Pledge of Allegiance exactly the way it is.
Let's talk about the moral example set by the administration. During the president's interview with Jonathan Alter for the book The Promise, the president used the lewd teabagger reference for the Tea Parties. The vice president dropped an F-bomb in public, and the chief of staff is renowned for profanity. Considering that the president of the United States is traditionally expected to be a role model, do you think President Obama owes America an apology for the poor moral tone set by his presidency?
Yes, I do, and he should stop going around the world apologizing to other countries for America. Most other countries are better off because the United States has protected them against aggression. The great inventions in the United States has made their life pleasanter and easier, and America is a very exceptional country. It's unfortunate that Obama does not believe in American exceptionalism or the Christianity in America. Yes, he does owe us an apology.
Ms. Schlafly, you've played an influential role within the Republican Party over the years and remain a national leader of the conservative movement. In your opinion, what kind of condition is this nation in today?
We are extremely concerned about the extraordinary spending that's going on at the federal level. We know that on the eve of his election, Barack Obama said he wanted to transform America, fundamentally transform us. And he is doing that by his spreading the wealth, taking money away from people who pay taxes and giving it to people who do not pay taxes. I think that's got to stop, or he is going to spend us into bankruptcy very rapidly. And at the same time, the culture is deteriorating. The decline in marriage is very significant. The 40% of babies born in America last year were born outside of marriage. That is an extraordinary figure. We expect fathers and mothers to care for their own children, and if they don't do it, then the taxpayers have to assume the burden. And that is a major reason for the big spending at the present time. We have to restore the culture, and that will be a great factor in cutting the spending of the government.
Where do you think we began to go wrong, and is it too late to get back on track?
Well, I think we went wrong with the dogmas of the feminists, who were very anti-marriage, who burst onto the scene in the 1970s, who were anti-full-time homemaker. One of their leaders is on the Supreme Court, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, who said in one of her published books that the concept of husband breadwinner, a wife homemaker, must be eliminated. And of course, we don't want to eliminate it. We need the family and an intact marriage as the stable institution in our society. The feminists have promoted illegitimacy and single moms, and it is a disaster for the children as well as the country, and now we see it as a disaster for the taxpayers.
In the past, you've expressed dissatisfaction with the modern GOP. What is your assessment of the GOP today?
The GOP is coming back to life. Unfortunately, it turned out that George W. Bush was not really a conservative. He was too much of a globalist. He was too much of a big spender to be a real conservative. And I do think the Republican Party is getting back on track. The conservatives are going to retake the party as we did in 1964 and as we did in 1980 and as we did again in 1994.
Now, there are some who are worried about the GOP's reputation as the party of no, including former Governor Jeb Bush, who said that the GOP is the old white guy party and that it's time to leave the Reagan mantle behind. Do you see that happening?
We're tired of the Bushes. They're ancient history now. We're glad to be the party of no. We say no to Obama's globalist ideas. We say no to his bad judicial appointments. We say no to his incredible spending, his spreading the wealth, and transforming America into something that we are not. We're proud to be the party of no.
Ms. Schlafly, what about the Tea Party? To what extent has it helped or harmed the GOP?
The Tea Parties are wonderful. These are just ordinary people who've not been in politics before, who are waking up to what has been happening to our country, to our marriages, to our life, and to our money. And we welcome them. They have a lot of different ideas. There's a great diversity among the Tea Parties, but we hope that they will all fall in line and elect a new crowd to Congress in November of this year.
Does the GOP have what it takes to win back Congress in the midterm elections and ultimately the presidency in 2012?
It's the American people rising up, people of all different ideas who know that things are going wrong. and who are eager to have a change. We don't want to elect the same people who've been spending our money and trying to involve us under United Nations treaties, who want to apologize to the rest of the world. We want to elect members of Congress who will stand up for America and for what we have stood for in the past. And I believe we can do it.
Now, a number of names have been touted as possible presidential candidates in 2012, including Mitt Romney, Sarah Palin, Newt Gingrich, General Petraeus, Mike Huckabee, Ron Paul, and others. Who would you like to see for the Republicans?
Well, none of the above. I think that I'm not ready to pick a candidate for president, but I do think it should be somebody who doesn't carry a lot of controversy on his own. I think the issue in the next presidential election should be, do you or don't you like the administration of Barack Obama? And so I think it can be somebody we haven't been talking about.
All right, Ms. Schlafly, last question real quickly. You've been a successful opponent of the radical feminist movement. What is your take on the left's hatred of conservative women, including Sarah Palin and Representative Michelle Bachmann of Minnesota? Why are they such targets?
Well, they're targets because the feminists see them as threats. They are successful women, and you need to understand that the main goal of the feminists is to make women feel they are victims of a patriarchal, oppressive society. And both Michelle Bachmann and Sarah Palin are successful women. They've both got a neat husband, a lot of children, and have been successful in politics, and that is what the feminists absolutely cannot stand.
All right, Phyllis Schlafly, thank you so much for joining us. It's truly been an honor to have you on Newsmax TV, and we appreciate your insight.
Thank you.
And thank you for watching Newsmax TV.